it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on the aspect of the narcissist and the psychopath, and that is sort of talking about the traits of being glib and superficial, and then how that really affects others in a relationship. When we're talking about someone who is glib or superficial, oftentimes it can be on a positive tone, meaning that it can be sort of a jokester, someone who is just sort of all about the ego, someone who is comical, the class clown, someone who gets your attention right away, but oftentimes it is as a distraction, an entertainment. And, people who are narcissistic or psychopathic, they love to be that leader. They love to have all eyes on them. They like to be the one in control, if you will. It's a one-directional relationship. Like when someone's on a stage, and then the others are just sort of there. There's no interaction. It's just, the person on the stage is the one in control, the one who is absorbing all of the attention. And with this, it can, with a relationship like this, oftentimes, it feels very clear cut that this is who they are and that this is how others are then programmed to respond. But oftentimes becomes more reactive in nature, meaning you're reacting, you're not in your power. And so it's very important to understand how your body physiologically processes the relationship with these types of individuals, because it's very different. It takes you on a different path, a different perception, and a different experience than just the ordinary. So meaning the superficial and glib sense. So we're talking about conditional regard, conditional love. I mean, it's based on, something that is oftentimes unreliable or superficial or meaningless. So the relationship can feel very meaningless, which is going to affect one's emotions, your feeling, your resonance, and then how you sort of, emote or express yourself in life. And so the expression component of individuals who are in relationships can be shut down. They're not in their flow. Their emotions aren't sort of going the way that they are. The spontaneity, the joy can be shut down, that happiness, that sort of going where you want to go. It can feel very blocked and just like a choppy relationship, and then have patches of the relationship where there's sort of lack of presence, or then feeling of emptiness and feeling like this is getting into problem. This is a troubled relationship. This is a hazardous relationship, and it can present danger to you, financially, emotionally, psychologically. It can really shift things, the way the puzzles of your life, the way that they're fitting together. They might not be coming together and snapping together the same way. So you might feel this sort of void. And when someone, the glib and superficial side, once again, it's about something that is oftentimes very meaningless, but it's apparently what the relationship, if you stay with it long enough, it can be based on something superficial and, not able to be sustained. And so the relationship can take a turn where it's absent of meaning, So if your people are often on the tip of their tongue, they're like, what is the relationship missing? This and this, it was so wonderful, but now it's just sort of, it's taking me to a place that I don't understand. And oftentimes that feeling is an emotion that's feeling lost because it's caught up in that egoic, superficial, and glib nature of relating. So in other words, just acting fake, acting phony. You hear about in certain communities or certain industries where it's all about the show, the showman, these charismatic people, which aren't there for you, but they're there for their own ends. And they oftentimes derive the fuel that they need to get where they want to go as a parasitic nature. It's sort of, using you as a stepping stone, or using others as a stepping stone, or opportunities with others that are as a stepping stone. And so this glib and superficial, you feel that, I think a good word to describe it is vapid in nature. And it is a feeling, it reminds me of my travels when I was in marketing and new product development, and I created some intellectual property for a company, and we did this session and this meeting in the Hollywood area, the West Hollywood area of Los Angeles, California. So we're all, the hipsters, the stars, star spotting, in Hollywood is where we had our meetings. So you've got all that sort of, glammed up. It's superficial and glib, but the problem, and, with that area, I felt it was very empty. It was very meaningless, and it lacked what I would call soul or ethic or substance. So some people, I think, they want to thrive in that superficial and glib environment. It's up to them, but it's very difficult to sort of maintain a relationship and connection when they're in that, because the relationship then feels it's based on conditions. How you look, how, is your, are you, acting like their support? Are you acting like the way that they want you to act? So it becomes this sort of puppeteer sort of feeling of relationship that feels cold or empty or lack of meaning. And the word I would say is vapid. Just so if you've ever experienced that, it's just, it feels that it's, you're in the wrong place. You don't like the looks of it. You don't like the feel of it. Something is awry. This person might be having, a lifestyle that's, they might be gambling, they might be drinking, they might be drugging, they might be having, infidel relationships. It's just might be taking you to a district in life that you don't want to be in. And you are at that 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And it's to understand that oftentimes that spark is the sensational aspect of the relationship that comes in the beginning, which oftentimes can be based on that superficial and glib sense of these individuals. Meaning, but it's off balance. There's and then a lack of authenticity, where if you feel in a relationship that you can't be yourself, you can't, express how you express. You can't use your own language. You can't even think. You can't even grow for yourself, because this other you've got this trauma bond or dependency going on, where you feel your relationship is contingent on how well you can please them, do things for them, prove them, that they are lovable. And meanwhile, you're not getting that in return. It can feel very vapid. And then people then feel like a fool. I think that's part of the down and out feeling, is that if you feel that you've been fooled, by this individual, is how, it can be very devastating, no matter where you're at in life. But that devastating it's taking down the structure of the wrong structure of relationship that's not good for you. So for that devastation, you have to look at it. This is happening for me, not to me. In other words, this previous relationship, the way it was built, the way the blueprint was put out by the architect, it created a sick building. The vents weren't good. The lighting was awful. You didn't have, a good view. The building was not, the feng shui was off. This is how it feels, that there is something awry, off, and this person is still going, and then you're just trying to keep up. I think is oftentimes how these relationship patterns work out, is that other people are just sort of, they're just sort of trying to do this to keep up. And yet you're not receiving all that you're giving to them. And so it becomes imbalanced. As a percentage, the relationship can be like 80% about them, 20% of you. If it's a seesaw, it's like the seesaw, you're only doing the seesaw for them. You're not getting a chance to play. They're getting all the opportunity for the play. and people feel that they're being played by this person. It's the superficial, it's the egoic, it's the non-lasting, meaningless. It's going, I think there's a phrase in the Bible, where it's like you feel Ecclesiastes, chasing after wind. You're just working too hard. You should not have to work that hard, overthink the relationship, overplan. Ultimately, relationships are about meaning, and they're about emotion, and they're about feeling. And, you have to, nowadays, it's a new world, the way people are communicating, and you have to be true to your feeling. And if you're feeling depleted, it's because your feeling is meant to be expressed. And if you've been caught up in that superficial glib, you need to restore it to something meaningful for you. So that's why, part of the healing, I always recommend, looking back at your experience with nostalgia. In other words, with, sort of, as you get some distance, look at it with interest and fascination, rather than helplessness and feeling of defeat or failure, or that you're not, superficial enough or egoic enough. You don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to try to live somebody else's life. And nobody can live your life for you. You have to live your own life. With a narcissist, they make you feel that you can live your life for them, and then that's okay, that's tolerable, and that's acceptable. So people get sort of brainwashed into feeling that, that they are indelibly etched in this relationship. In other words, it's a forever thing, but it's because there's a forever part of you that needs this experience. The forever part of you is still there. The dream, the reality, the authenticity, this is not a dress rehearsal. Your life is the real deal. So, but with a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath, it has a shelf life. It has a run to it. In other words, it's only coming to the city for a certain amount of time, and then their show is back on the road. And oftentimes you don't feel as human. You feel that you're more of a groupie, or a support person to them. But so you have to realize that relationship, that bond, you deserve from others, and not only to be support, but you deserve that both ways. And that superficial, I think, is what people then, try to get back. That sizzle, but what about the steak? You're not getting sort of the substance that you are needing. And it's because there's a lack of empathy. And we're talking about the narcissist, so they don't lack empathy. So their mirror neurons, they're not concerned or find important being there for you in a non-judgmental way. In other words, to be supportive of you in the same way that you are of them. There's an imbalance, if that makes any sense. So the superficial is oftentimes the sizzle. One moment here. The superficial is kind of like what seems like the excitement. It seems like where the good stuff is in the relationship. It feels like that's what it's all about. But yet that is also ultimately meaningless. Meaning it doesn't have value. It doesn't have, I'm sorry, one moment. It doesn't have sort of the ability to be sustained. Meaning it has to have a feeling. We're getting really down to the quantum level, and we're talking about all the cells in your body. We're talking about how this affects your cellular and granular level, because it's all connected. Your feelings, if you are interacting with somebody without empathy, you are going to feel depleted, unvalidated, unacknowledged, and feeling like that you're unknown, that person doesn't really know you. And then sort of there's this feeling of betrayal. In other words, I've done all this to help restore you, and I'm not getting the same in return. So it becomes almost feeling like a transactional relationship. that is based on conditions. And so the important thing is that you then reflect into yourself, that you are there for yourself in the same way that the narcissist, you wanted it to be there for the narcissist, meaning, you're just there. So it's okay to just be there in a deep, authentic way for yourself. And this is where then self-care practices become really crucial. You need to adapt new self-care practices. What does that mean? In other words, satisfying your needs for meaning and value in your life. And to realize what is missing oftentimes in that relationship with the narcissist or the psychopath. The psychopath does not have a conscience, so they will take whatever it is that they want. They don't feel grief, they don't feel sorry, they don't feel remorse, they don't feel regret. So they're not blocked, they're not held back, they're not concerned. Where you might have, feeling dismayed and misled. They're not going to help you with your feelings. There's not going to be a closure. They don't have that energetically to provide. So what I'm suggesting is that the issue is a lack of meaning, a lack of sustainability. It's the psychopath and the narcissist are like greedy for, and dishonest, meaning agreed for attention, agreed to be receiving, and not giving. So that's kind of their ploy. That's how they operate. And so it will feel imbalanced. But a lot of people, once again, then the relationship for them is more like a comical relief. And so that superficial aspect is something that, you might not want to go back to in your life. You might not like that life of judgment. You might not like that, falseness. You might not like being phony. You might not like, wearing yourself, stressing yourself out about things that aren't not really important. And so, that superficial side is very apparent. It's very apparent with the individuals, and that's why I think it really hurts, because the narcissist does not want to reflect back that they are hurt, that they that they need to change or apologize or have a heart to heart, a hug to hug, a kiss to kiss. They're going to stay on that superficial egoic plane, and they're just going to bolster themselves up. Oftentimes they have that sort of persona that they need to maintain, and as an ego, not authentic, but because it's on the outside. That's how they feel that they control and power over. Just sort of, it's the flash. It's not the form. So, you can then see that this relationship is showing you something about yourself, that you don't want to be fake. You don't want to be phony. You don't want to live a lie. You don't want to pretend. The real deal is a better life. You can get all that you want in your life, that sort of fantasy, that dream, that vision back. You've got to sort of get that jogging back and realizing that you have that within you, that authentic, raw part of you is there. If it's been down, you've been down. If you've had a dark night of the soul, you've had a dark night of the soul. I mean, it's what's creating your emotional and your character. And realize that it's an opportunity to alchemize and change it. When we talk about your personal power, we're talking about your creative expression as well. So oftentimes people are blocked or stuck because the narcissist or the psychopath wants to be the one to do all the creating. They want to be the one who sets the terms of engagement. They want to be the one who calls the shots. And even though you might not even be included, it's like we're saying before, they're always changing the rules. They don't feel, they'll say, I didn't mean to do this. We'll get together for the next holiday. And it's just rolling off their tongue, and it's just nothing more than a lie. They are pathological liars. It's just what it is. And they lie very easily, and they don't feel remorse or regret. And so that can make you feel sick if you're not in alignment with your truth. So if your body is sort of, if you're unhappy, if your emotions just aren't how you want it to be, oftentimes because you're still stuck in that superficial, egoic, sort of glib nature, appear as if, the show goes on, but the show is within you. The show is the real deal, the raw, and going after what it is you really are, and getting that creativity back, getting that flow back, going places, doing things, taking workshops, taking classes, changing things up so that you're comfortable, getting your mind off of, that superficial and glib, and getting to what's real and important for you. And just start your feet going in the right direction. One foot in front of the other. Don't overthink it. In fact, don't don't analyze it. Just try to keep that brain cells from overload. Just don't overthink. Just begin to follow that feeling, which can, once you run your energy, you'll begin to kind of know and just say, you know what, that was that one divine spark that I didn't follow up on. I was going to do that painting. I was going to do that garden. I was going to do that class. I was going to. What is some of your I was going to that's really deep and authentic to you? I really want, because a lot of people end up giving it up for the narcissist because they thought that person was going to be there. They were lied to for a long period of time. I thought we were going to travel. I thought we were, going to Hawaii. I thought we were going to rent that car and drive the Pacific Coast. I thought we were going to raise our child this way. So you have a lot of these visions, which oftentimes can be taken from you by these individuals. So it's very important to understand that, especially as someone who is psychopathic, their prefrontal cortex has a lot of slowed activity, so they don't really learn from certain experiences because they don't feel that they've done anything wrong, so they can't correct themselves. So the hurt just perpetuates again and again and again, and it can be ruinous for a lot of people. You just need to get away. No matter how charming, no matter how good looking, funny, just sweep it off. It is not worth your devastation. It is not worth your unhappiness. It is not worth, your solar plexus and all, every cell of your body just trying to squeeze out, some sort of adrenaline to try to deal with it. People get very stressed out when they feel that they don't have a vision or something to look forward to. And so oftentimes that vision of that future, that crystalline vision, is just taken from you. So you need to, realize that can come back and be restored even brighter and even more sparkly and even more real and even more pleasurable than you even thought. But you just have to, surrender that negative superficial and just say, no go to the superficial. No go to the glib. I'm not falling for the phony. I'm not falling for the fake. It's meaningless. And so it is. And it will make your life a lot more simple, a lot more less complex, and you won't entertain conflict for that amount of time. Because I think with these there's just so much overthinking. There's so much conflict. They're trying to control the outcome. They're always trying to move people around just so that things work out for them. It becomes very complicated. It's all in the head. It becomes a cerebral relationship then. Drop it back down into the heart. It's okay to live with your emotions. And once you do that, you'll be able to free up your energy. So the creator, the source, yourself, your creative self, your authentic self, your raw self, the one who wants to create, produce, do, whether it's cooking, cleaning, listening, learning, nurturing, these normal aspects of your life can be restored. But you have to get out of the head and the cerebral nature that these relationships cause, because it's trying to figure them out. To a degree, you have to drop the cerebral nature and get back into your heart, where your meaning is, your value is, your joy. And oftentimes it's so so readily available that the narcissist and the psychopath, they're not in that meaning level. They don't process emotions the same way. They just don't. It's just how it is. So value yourself, that you have emotions, you have that openness, you have certain values that are important to you, and that you have to be yourself. You have to live in these values as it is. And if they can't share in that, then they can't, but so share it with yourself. Restore meaning, restore value, restore that rawness, and it's okay to be wrong. But allow that creativity to come out. I think really a lot of creativity comes out of angst, it comes out of anger, and it comes out of frustration. And then they create this masterpiece, and then they go, wow, so you might have those phases in your life. Don't resist. It's okay to welcome. You got this. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out. Have a beautiful day.